Hey everybody, my name is Minda Harts. Welcome to this week's Secure the Seat Live on LinkedIn Live. And if you're streaming on YouTube and you're streaming on Twitter, welcome, welcome, welcome. If it's your first time, we're glad you're here. You could be anywhere on the internet right now and you're here with us. But if you've been rocking with us every Monday at noon, you already know what the vibe is. We are excited that you're here. Today's extra special because I have my brother from another mother, Stephen A. Hart, joining us today, who is a podcaster and brand expert. And so, listen, you're going to want to get all your questions in as fast as your LinkedIn fingers or your Twitter fingers can get you into the chat, because we want to make sure that we answer as many questions as we possibly can. But today we're going to be talking about how do you build your brand inside the workplace. So we want to make sure that you have the tools you need to succeed in 2021 and beyond. And I'm going to bring Stephen to the stage now to join us. Hey, Mr. Hart.
Hello, Minda. So excited for this to be happening right now.
I know, me too. Tell everybody a little bit more about you for those who do not know Mr. LinkedIn yet.
That's right. So I'll always start intros off from a place of gratitude. I'm first and foremost the proud husband to Kristen of almost 13 years together. We have two amazing crumb snatchers that are about to turn 7 and 11. And, I have the blessing every day of being a marketer for one of the largest cybersecurity firms on the globe, and a podcast host to Trailblazers.fm. We just celebrated our 5th birthday 2 weeks ago. And I'm also a brand strategist and just love helping heart-centered people, professionals, leaders, entrepreneurs to build a dynamic personal brand that is authentic, relatable, impactful, and most importantly, profitable.
Yes. And so we actually stay to the end because, or if you have to catch the replay, because we have some really special gifts at the end, because Stephen has helped me. For those who don't know, he's really helped me level up in my brand. So again, I bring people to Secure the Seat Live that I have invested in myself by using their expertise and their coaching. And so I want to make sure that you have what you need in your toolkit as well. So make sure you put your questions in the chat. We'll make sure to get those. So Stephen, let's start with some level setting. What is the definition, in your opinion, of branding, and why should people be thinking about their personal and professional brand presence?
Great place to start. So I think first off, let's define a brand, right? A brand is a set of features that helps to distinguish you, right? It helps you to stand out. So if we think of your name, we think of your logo, we think of your unique experiences, the way you dress, the way you talk. I'm Jamaican. My voice is different than any other because I lived in Jamaica for 16 years, but I've been here for 27. So that's your brand, right? And that's unique to you. But the element of personal branding is more of an iterative process. It never ends. It's dynamic. You are always working on, how you're going to create that distinct presence over time that helps you and what you are doing or offering help connect that with the people you ultimately want to serve.
I love that so much. And people are chiming in all the places that they're watching us today. Today, we're talking about branding inside the workplace. So Stephen, you gave us some definitions for us to think about. But, most people think about branding only as entrepreneurs. Like, we have to have our website, we have to have, whatever platforms we're using. But sometimes people don't think about their branding inside the workplace and how that helps them secure the seat. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of professional branding and what that looks like.
So let me dial back, because you asked me something a second ago, Minda, that I think it's important to touch on, because, the reason that personal branding is important, right, is that at the end of the day, it's going to help you to amplify your identity. With personal branding specifically, you are representing the brand called you. So while I work for the SANS Institute, while I am the podcast host of Trailblazers.fm, everything that I do anchors back to Stephen A. Hart. I'm building the Stephen A. Hart brand, right? And in marketing, everything begins with attention, right? And so you have to be able to bring awareness and attention to who you are. And I think personal branding helps to amplify that. The other thing is that you want to be memorable. We're in a pandemic, right? And where our focus is everywhere right now. And the things that people see when they look at Minda Hart, Secure the Seat, LinkedIn Live right now on this platform, it tells them something about your brand identity, the colors, the fonts, the different things that you do to separate you from the others in your space. And also your messaging, right? And your messaging comes through in both the words as well as your voice. Nobody else loves grits and rap lyrics quite like Minda Hart's. That's part of your brand. And so it helps you to be memorable. And then the last thing is it really helps to improve your credibility and trust, right? When you begin showing up on LinkedIn, 2 years ago, in the summer of 2019, right? People began to learn a little bit about who Minda Harts was. Then a memo came out, but you kept showing up, and over time, people got to know you. They got to like you, and essentially began to trust you, right? And you develop that credibility. And so we are still very much in a pandemic. And my sister Karen Millsap Allen said something on the podcast to the effect of, we are all in the same storm, but in different boats. And I think that's so true. Right now, we've got remote work becoming more and more of the way of the future, even post-pandemic. So I think as professionals, even beyond entrepreneurs, as professionals right now, we have to work to strengthen our reputation and stand out in the chaos of all of that, right? Yeah. And have a heightened focus on how we show up digitally, because that's kind of where we are. So, you look forward, there's so much noise, but where's your North Star? Where are you trying to get to? Your employer is a part of a much larger whole, right? So if you're employed, you have goals, you have work goals, but what are your goals? What is your vision? Where are you trying to get to? I often say, look out 10, 20, 30 years from now and think about, for me, Minda, 30 years from now, I'm hoping that I'm on a beach chair somewhere on the north coast of Jamaica, relaxing, right, with a couple of red stripes and a beach chair. But when I look back at what I hope to have accomplished, there are things like being a best-selling author. There are things like being on a very large stage, being able to impact the walk of others and being able to help entrepreneurs and professionals. So I'm looking at, okay, what's those big picture, big vision, what I call your big, hairy, audacious goals, your BHAGs. What are those big vision goals? And then how do you reverse engineer a path to get there, right? So get clear. That's not an entrepreneur thing. That's a life thing. No matter where you find yourself, you have to define your path forward and get clear. I'm driving to Florida this coming weekend. I'm not just going to jump in the car and drive and hope that I get to Florida. I'm going to map it out, right? And Google Maps will tell me the route to get there. In the same way, what's your route? What's your path to getting where you want to go? Be clear on that. I think in this season, we have to focus on learning new skills. We have to upskill. We have to start learning different things. Live streaming and podcasting are things that I've learned that I've brought into my work environment and helped them to expand what they do in terms of marketing. How are you bringing new skills to your employer, right? You're providing a solution to what they're offering. So you need to make sure you're leveling up all the time. And then I think the other thing that we have to continue to do from a branding standpoint, these are all branding elements, right? We're not thinking of it traditionally as branding, but they very much are. The last thing is, what's your message, right? How are you networking? How are you communicating? I always say that, you have to clarify your message so people listen. If you confuse, you lose. So what's the Minda message inside your workplace, right? When you're not in the room, how is somebody else going to speak about what Minda is trying to accomplish in this workplace, in this environment? Yep. Get very clear on your messaging so that it's clear, it's not confusing. And it also begins to position you for the direction you're trying to move in. So I'll pause right there.
Listen, if you weren't writing down those things, my tambourine is too far away from me right now. But you dropped all the gems. Let's take a couple questions because I see the chat like blowing up. Let's throw a question. We'll take two. Let's start with one on the screen. I know there was a few that came up. So many good ones. Let's see what we got here. I know I see one from Brittany. What is your vision, your goals, North Star? Oh, she's just commenting. Sorry, I thought that was a question, but yes, that is a good one. Let's see what we got here. I know there's quite a few streaming in here. I see one, Stephen, that says, I'm paraphrasing because it's long. When I was in the workplace, my manager used to see me as one way, but that's not the way I want him to see me or think of me. How do you reposition who people think you are in the workplace to who you want to show up as now?
Yeah.
Great branding question.
Great question. And again, it comes back to you doing that exercise, right? Take the time. This is not something that you do today. It's a process that I'm always working through. But look at where you're trying to get to. This past year, Minda knows, Annette knows, several people here in the thread, good friends know, I went through my own share of challenge in the past year, right? But I know exactly what I'm trying to accomplish, and I make sure I speak that message out in every circle. I don't show up at Sands and hide trailblazers, right? I am the same everywhere. And I articulate that message consistently about what I'm trying to achieve. So I speak it out. You know, when I was looking for this opportunity, I had a choice to make. Do I show up as a podcaster or do I just show up as a marketer the way the professional work world wanted to see me? I made a decision that, you know what, I'm going to be of value to an organization who sees me as a podcaster, sees that passion that I have towards new media. And I put that out there. I lost several really amazing opportunities, but none better than where I landed at Sands because they embraced that. They brought me in knowing that that was my strength. And each and every day I show up and I say, hey, you know what? There's a new platform called Clubhouse. Are you on it? Let's get on it, right? There's live streaming. I was talking about this platform with live streaming 6 months ago and eventually brought them in that direction. So speaking to your question, you have to be able to put on paper what is most important to you. You have to get very clear on what your non-negotiables are, who you want to show up in that workplace as, and begin to articulate that. And if your present workplace isn't the place that's going to embrace that, you have to trust the process that, you know, I'm not telling you to go quit your job, but, you know, begin the process of working to make sure you are putting that message out there. You are getting buy-in from the people. You know, the challenge we have right now, too, is that we show up in Zoom calls each and every day. This is probably the fourth or fifth, call that I'm on today. And we're showing up for different specific topics, but we're losing out on that social bit, right? That we used to have, that water cooler talk. You need to set aside that time to still get in front of the people who could be your sponsors and mentors, the people who you presently work with. Find reason, find value to bring to them, that, you know, people who can help you inside the workplace. I did that a week ago for my CMO. I found a CMO talk happening on Forbes event, sent it to my CMO, not knowing later in the week I'd need something from him. But, you know, I'm making those touch points every chance I get to pour value into others, lift up what it is I'm trying to do, and be able to get others to get behind me, support what I'm doing, and help me moving in the right direction, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Oh, so good. So good. Let me jump back into our questions, Stephen. The questions are starting to roll in, plus the amens that I see in the chat. But what I know, there's some people thinking right now, man, I don't even know where to start. Where can people, what's the first step people can start doing to enhance their brand presence today?
I think the first thing, there's so many places and so many things that you need to move and shift. A lot of people think of branding and they think immediately of the design of a logo or the design, the brand identity elements. But I think that you first have to get really clear on your foundation, right? What is your mission? Meaning the short term, you know, Where are you trying to move the ball? We talked about the vision on the long term. Who are you trying to serve? Get clear on that, right? What is your purpose? What are your greatest superpowers, right? And your talents. Get those things down on paper. The challenge we have is we think about a lot of these things, but we never get them down on paper. And you can't edit the idea that you have in your head. So you have to get everything down on paper and begin to put it down, right? Get clear on that purpose, get clear on that mission and that vision, your superpowers, understand your strengths, and begin to build and enhance from there. But I think that's the first thing that we all need to make sure we are doing. And it's going to take several weeks for you to get clear on that first rev of that. And you will always continue to work through that from there.
I love that. And this sets up the next question before we take some more from the audience is you actually, for those who are like, I still need some help, Stephen, you actually have a branding course. Talk to us a little bit about that. And we'll also drop the information in. And I'm a student of it. So if you've seen over the last 2 years, my brand presence popped. I give all credit and honor to Stephen A. Hart because he has coached me all of the way. And you know, let's drop that in the chat. But Stephen, tell us a little more about what people can expect from that.
And of course, pandemic chaos, you know, I have my dad like walking around. So I don't know if you hit the frame just now. But yes, Minda, I once or twice a year, I offer a boot camp. And we are getting set to launch a spring boot camp of our personal branding essentials, which is going to be a complete full day live experience where I walk you through what you would probably take years to accomplish on your own. We are going to talk about everything from the foundation elements we just discussed through how to develop your brand identity, developing that brand message, developing the website, making sure that everything is laid out in a cohesive digital footprint and beginning to build the kind of content and thought leadership that you need to excel. You can learn more about that over at stephenahart.com/bootcamp. And if you use the coupon code STS, secure the seat, STS200, you can take $200 off the cost of that bootcamp because Minda is my sister from another mister, and her tribe always finds value in what I'm doing and helps to elevate our brand as well. So I'm on a mission. I talk a lot about mission. I'm on a mission to help 10,000 heart-centered, good people, heart-centered entrepreneurs, professionals, and leaders build a personal brand that is impactful, relatable, and profitable. And so if you find yourself in that bucket where you're like, you know what, I need to build my brand, feel free to jump into our cohort for March 20th. It's going to be a long day, 10 hours, tons of guidance, tons of live hands-on exercises and activities, examples of real life brands, and much more goodness. So that's a little about it. Thank you, Brittany, for sharing and Annette for sharing that address in the chat.
Drop it back in the chat again, and that's Mike's going to drop the link, but also remember the coupon code is STS200. Listen, I'm not here peddling anything that I haven't done myself, and it's not peddling. It is telling you you need the tools in your toolkit because some of us, listen, we say we want to level up, we say we want a brand presence, but sometimes we're not willing to do what it takes to invest in ourselves. So use that code. I'm telling you, you'll be better for it because we say we want to do some certain things, but we actually sometimes have to take the leap to do it. So at least give yourself this. Check it out. Don't say you can't afford it. Don't say any of that. It's the stories that we tell ourselves, right? Just check it out and see what Stephen has to offer. Because I'm telling you, this is not just for entrepreneurs. This is for professionals too. So let's take a couple questions from the audience. I see them flooding in. Mike, if you can throw up a question on the screen. Stephen, talk a little bit about how to do brand PR cleanup if in the past you didn't have a plan and have people who've built their own perception of who you are and your capabilities. Great question. Thank you.
Really great question, Jenny. I had a pretty well-established client of mine who just about everybody on his call would know, who's in the media, who ended up with one of these fake news elements that hit her and she was all over everywhere that her digital footprint pointed at the beginning of our relationship was pointing to this negative story line that played out a few years back. And it really took a lot to begin to build and tell a different story. So I'm not going to tell you there's one quick fix, because there isn't. But if we work through the process of building this is why building a digital footprint is so very important. Minda has a presence on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, as well as her website, as well as Minda is continually talking and doing videos and doing talks in different places. Over time, that begins to occupy the space where somebody searches you on Google. Someone right now is searching your name on Google, and the results that come up, I often say the results that come up are going to leave them more or less inclined to do business with you or hire you. So you need to take time, right? Even if you're not a Twitter person like Minda, you should still have a presence in each of these locations. And maybe you're not going to post as much, but you're going to tell the story that you want to be told, right? You're going to be in control of that story and that narrative. And over time, those things will tend to rise to the top of search. And when people are looking for those different search results, that's where you're going to be in control a bit more. You're going to have a balance, right? Some of those things you can't, weed out, especially if it hits big media, but at least you are trying to control the narrative as best you can.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, you hit it on the head, Stephen. Somebody is Googling you right now. And,
It's happening.
not to scare you or any of those sorts of things, but you can control the narrative. And there may be some steps that you need to take. So let's take them today. Let's take them this week. Stephen, as a supporter and listener of Secure the Seat, every guest I have to ask, because I am a lover of grits and rap lyrics. First of all, do Jamaicans eat grits, Stephen?
No. No. No, I don't know. Maybe Annette could speak to that. Annette, do you? I don't. I'm not a grits guy. We love some porridge.
Okay, poor. Okay, fine. But if you were, I'm sure you would be a salt guy, so I won't even ask. But tell us what your favorite rap lyric is and why.
I've always thought about what I'm going to share if ever I'm in the ask me that question. And in the mode of the season, I'm an old school head first off. So 80s, 90s hip hop is my jam. I kind of want to toe the line of a Snoop Dogg gin and juice, but I want to be respectful of your LinkedIn audience. So I was thinking more of, Grandmaster Flash and the message, right? Which I think is so appropriate for the season. Where, everybody knows that lyric, right? Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. We are all in this jungle, right? And you're wondering how you're going to keep from going on though right now. So that's my lyric right there.
Yes, and again, we get to take control of the narrative, right? We might feel like we're at the edge, but we don't have to go there.
No, no, I won't do it because it's LinkedIn. My favorite all-time hip hop track would have to be Slick Rick, Children's Story. And you catch me on the right day, I could probably rap that to your audience.
That's Secure the Seat. After hours.
After hours. So maybe you join the boot camp and we can talk about that inside the boot camp in our breaks.
Let's drop the boot camp link, and remember the coupon code is STS200. So make sure you check that out. And Stephen, we have so many of our listeners who are leaders, and I'm a firm believer that you don't have to have a title to lead. What is one piece of advice you would leave our leaders with to make the workplace better than they found it?
Yeah. Really play on your strengths, right? At the end of the day, you're where you are based on the things that you are strong at doing. Stop focusing so heavily on what we see others doing. Imposter syndrome is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself having this conversation right now with others. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And there are unique experiences that you've had in the past that equip you. You are enough. You're equipped to be able to lead, especially in this season, especially in this time. So, focus on your strengths. Again, really dial up on your superpowers and your talents. And focus on how you can really help others to move along. I am focused. My word of 2021 is impact. And I'm really focused on impacting others for the better, both in this, as I always say in Trailblazers, both for now as well as for those future generations coming behind us that we can pour into. So that's my word for today.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Make sure that you share today's episode because there's so many gems, so many nuggets. I can't wait for us to post some of the snippets of this because we all have a superpower, as Stephen said, and maybe you're not sure what that is, but that's why you might need the boot camp to dial in on what that is. But let's take, we have time for maybe one or two more questions? Let's see. Everybody is, let's put a question up on the board. I know that so many are coming in. Let's see which one that we want to.
While you're doing that, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, wherever you have, if you have questions, if you're giving thought to the boot camp and you need to communicate with me, feel free to do so.
Yes, I love that. How do you work on improving your brand when you're trying to transition into a new role?
Yeah. And again, I shared that, when I was transitioning roles 2 years ago, almost, to the day right now, it was tough. I mean, in this season, and now we're in a pandemic. How are you focusing on your brand in that transition? It dials back. I can repeat this, 10 times over until it rests with you. Really take time to understand who you are and who you're trying to be, right? Where are you trying to move? And you really have to own some of the things that you're suppressing, that you're worried about an employer not receiving, just as I did with podcasting. As a result of me owning that, I'm now the producer. I get to sit in that chair behind, the podcast that I helped the Science Institute create for cyber defense. And now I'm launching them into live streaming. I wouldn't be able to do that if I had moved in a different direction and gone and worked for somebody where I was just doing social media or, PR, something that is very corporate. I'm still getting a chance to live out that new media that I love so much. So what is it? What is it in your line of work that you really love to do that maybe isn't in perfect alignment, but maybe you have the ability to bring into a new opportunity? How can you package that in your messaging and position it as a point of strength and be able to move in that direction? Because at the end of the day, life is too short, right? We all see that from the year we've had. Do what you love, do what you're most passionate about doing, and that you can bring to an employer to help them move their needle.
I love that advice so much. And I think too, Stephen, it's really good for people to see that you also have a multifaceted career. You have, what some would say a 9-to-5 plus.
I'm Jamaican, Minda. I have like 17 roles.
Sometimes people think that they can't do, it's not yes and, right? Even many people may not know, for majority of my career, I was doing both. I was working in my day job and building the platform, the memo. It wasn't until the last couple of years that I was able to do the memo full time. But it's okay to do both, and it can look very different for many of us. Here's another question that I really, really love. How do you build your brand in an organization with leaders that may be intimidated by your vision?
Ooh, yes, Brittany, I hear you on that one. It's different for everybody. I don't think one thing I say is going to navigate that quite right for everyone. But the thing, this comes back to audience, right? This comes back to what I tell entrepreneurs is understanding your audience. In the same light, you have to understand that that leader is part of the audience you are serving. And you really need to get very clear on understanding what's keeping those leaders up at night, right? What's challenging them most. A lot of people, when they focus on the word avatar, they're thinking of the demographic data. Am I serving a Black woman who's in her mid-30s, who's, employed? Those are demographic details, but you really need to start looking at the psychographics, right? On understanding the pain points, understanding the challenges, understanding what they value, and being able to really figure out how you're going to move your vision forward in alignment with that, so that there is some service by way of what you're trying to do, and at the same time helping them to achieve a win.
I love that. I love it so much. Stephen, you've been amazing, and we'll probably have to have you back for a part 2. But do you want to have any final thoughts for our squad today?
Listen, I talked about it. You want to clarify your message. If you confuse, you lose. And I've been sharing this with everyone. My amazing wife always reminds me to say what I mean, don't say it mean. So, in this time, we sometimes get so frustrated, or, boiling up, and we let out things in social media that, or, in the workplace that we maybe shouldn't. Maybe you're going to have to respond to a tough email today. Figure out a way to say what you mean and don't say it mean.
Kristen Hart with the gems that we all hold on to.
Yes.
Say what you mean, yes, but don't say it mean. We need a T-shirt with that. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all of you who have, who join in, who get the gems, who share, who support. This is Black History Month, but that we celebrate it every single day because that's who we are. Stephen has his shirt on.
I'm rocking my Muhammad Ali.
I love it. And I have a Marcus Garvey shirt on right now. And, so I just appreciate all of you. Continue to thrive, not just survive. And let's make sure that if you're interested in enhancing your brand for 2021 and beyond, that you check out the intensive boot camp, because I don't know when Stephen will run it again. So it will help you. I promise, promise. We'll drop that in the chat. And then we'll see you next Monday at noon for Secure the Seat Live. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Binda.